Warning, the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. Now, here he is, author of Liberalism is a Mental Disorder, Trump's War, and God, Faith, and Reason, Michael Savage.
Welcome to the Savage Nation. We have all watched the Valley Girl this morning, speaking in the voice of a 9 or 11-year-old, doing a perfect job of the innocent victim. And many of you have drawn your own conclusions, as I have drawn mine. I have many questions, as do you. But right now I have what is volcanic news for you. And I believe this is the only place in the media that this has been heard yet. I hope it goes viral. Steal it if you will. Is Dr. Ford deeply tied to the CIA, I ask? It's on my Twitter feed on michaelsavage.com. And we did some research that no one else in the media has done. Is Dr. Ford deeply tied to the CIA? Is she the deep swamp that we were warned about? Well, here's some evidence. It shouldn't take long for you to listen to this, but it will blow your lid off. Well, besides being a professor at the Off-Brand University, she also works at a major university down the street from Palo Alto. She just so happens to head up the CIA undergraduate internship program at Stanford University. Let me repeat that. Dr. Ford happens to head up the CIA undergraduate internship program at Stanford University, which is very odd unto itself. How did she get the job? Well, listen carefully. Christine's brother, Ralph III, used to work for the international law firm of Baker Hostetler, the firm that created Fusion GPS, which is the company which wrote the Russian dossier. They later admitted it was only a collection of field interview. Are you listening carefully? Baker Hostetler is located in the same building where the CIA operates three companies called Redcoats, Inc., Admiral Security Services, and Data Watch. Who runs them? They are operated by Ralph Blasey II. He happens to be the father of Dr. Ford and Ralph III. But it gets even deeper. Christine and Ralph III's grandfather was Nicholas Deak. Former CIA Director William Casey acknowledged Deak's decades of service to the CIA. What you've just learned on the Savage Nation is unique. It is not on Fox News. It is nowhere else to be heard. I hope it's heard widely and investigated as to its truth or falseness. But let's start from the bottom and work to the top. Where did this obscure professor come from? We're going to break now to Kavanaugh's opening statements. But again, remember what I just said. Is Dr. Ford deeply tied to the CIA? Who is she? Her grandfather worked for the CIA. Her brother used to work for the firm that created Fusion GPS. Are you listening to this? She happens to head up the CIA undergraduate internship program at Stanford University. It has deep state written all over it. Now let's listen to the opening statements by the fuddy-duddy, the old Republican who was making a... Yeah, here we go again.
To join. Every time.
All right, turn it off. I don't want to hear him again. I don't want to hear this cornfield guy anymore. I'm sick of it. The only face of the Republican Party is a half-senile old man. It was a disaster to take that prosecutor from Arizona and use her as the face of the Republican Party. A disaster. She was smart, that woman from Arizona. But she was treating as though she had unlimited time in a legal deposition to quiz Dr. Ford. She did not have unlimited time. She's not used to the media, not used to the media spotlight, doesn't understand what sound bites are, and she blew it completely. Oh, yes, she poked holes in the fear of flying thing and all of that stuff. But by and large, the optics are all, and the optics were terrible for the truth here. Kavanaugh is up there right now, and here he comes. The choir boy is about to speak. You know, they're like bookends to me, by the way.
That the testimony you're about to give
I don't want to hear the irrelevant, please, the irrelevant fluff we can do without. He is a choir. This guy is a bookend to Dr. Ford. They're like one and the same, from the same elite background, rich kids, party kids. You know, I have no sympathy for either of them. He's a terrible pick for the Supreme Court. And the bigger question is, how did Trump get hoodwinked into picking him when he could have picked a woman? But let's listen to him now, the choir boy.
Feinstein, Members of the committee, thank you for allowing me to make
See
my
again.
statement.
What do you mean, thank you? They
I
just
wrote it
crucified
myself
you.
yesterday afternoon and evening. No one has seen a draft or it except for one of my former law clerks. This is my statement. Less than 2 weeks ago, Dr. Ford publicly accused me of committing wrongdoing at an event more than 36 years ago when we were both in high school. I denied the allegation immediately, categorically, and unequivocally. All 4 people allegedly at the event, including Dr. Ford's longtime friend, Ms. Kaiser, have said they recall no such event. Her longtime friend, Ms. Kaiser, said under penalty of felony that she does not know me and does not believe she ever saw me at a party ever. Here is the quote from Ms. Kaiser's attorney's letter. Quote, simply put, Ms. Kaiser does not know Mr. Kavanaugh, and she has no recollection of ever being at a party or gathering where he was present, with or without Dr. Ford. End quote. Think about that fact. The day after the allegation appeared, I told this committee that I wanted a hearing as soon as possible to clear my name. I demanded a hearing for the very next day. Unfortunately, it took the committee 10 days to get to this hearing. In those 10 long days, as was predictable and as I predicted, my family and my name have been totally and permanently destroyed by vicious and false additional accusations.
Hold it.
The
Stop the
10-day
feed for a
delay-
minute. He said in this 10 days, my name and my family's name has been permanently destroyed. In essence, he's just disqualified himself from the Supreme Court. That was a mistake. He should have said they attempted to destroy my reputation. I'm sorry, he's not that smart. Let's listen. It's very sad.
FBI or otherwise.
He's not from New York.
The committee now has conducted a thorough
Shows he
investigation.
went to prep
I've
school and I went to
cooperated
Jamaica
fully.
High.
I know that any kind of investigation,
I don't want to
Senate,
hear it, actually.
FBI,
I don't actually
Montgomery
like the
County
guy.
Police,
I'm not. I
whatever,
don't care about him. He shouldn't have been picked.
will clear me.
He's just a rich kid
Listen
who
to
worked
the
his
people
way
I
up.
know.
Reasonably smart lawyer.
Listen to
That's
people
about
who
it.
have known me my whole life.
I bet you he's never been pushed
Listen
around
to
in his
people
whole
I've
life.
grown up with,
Looks like he's been the
worked
pusher.
with and played with and coached with and dated.
Okay,
and
what do you
talked,
want to listen to this now for
gone
3
to
hours?
games with, and had beers
Turn it off. I don't want to hear it. Go listen to it on Fox News if you want. Sit there and have a diet soda. We know one thing about her. She's addicted to caffeine, that's for sure. And sounding like an 11-year-old Valley girl didn't help her credibility as far as I'm concerned. Every other sentence was, oh my, oh gee, oh whiz. Where was the checks, the pleated skirt? All she needed was the pleated skirt and the curtsy. Now the choir boy is up there. Me think he's crying wolf a little too much. I'm sorry, the whole thing sickens me. And I wish that they had picked the woman candidate instead of him. So here we are. We're stuck with him. And frankly, the big question is, what is Trump going to tweet today? Because he will make a decision. Trump is a survivor. Trump is a brilliant political person. And you want my opinion? I'll give it to you in about 30 minutes as to what Trump is going to do. I am not optimistic he's going to back this guy. That's my personal fear and my personal belief. And if he doesn't back him, it's all over. There's no Supreme Court pick. And what if they go to the full vote tomorrow or Monday? Tell me if he's going to get the right number of votes. You know how many of those Republicans are going to bail. How many will bail? I can name 5 that are going to bail out. You can name the 5 of them as well. So it's over. They destroyed him. The Democrats are far better at this game of personal destruction than the Republicans are. And the Republicans should have learned these tricks at the Clarence Thomas hearings. But you heard today that Dr. Ford has deep ties to the CIA. And, of course, it doesn't matter to you because you didn't hear it on Fox News. But you heard it from the Savage Nation. Let's listen in again and see if we can take another second of this.
Your words have meaning. Millions of Americans listened carefully to you. Given comments like those, is it any surprise that people have been willing to do anything, to make any physical threat against my family, to send any violent email to my wife, to make any kind of allegation against me and against my friends to blow me up and take me down. You sowed the wind. For decades to come, I fear that the whole country will reap the whirlwind.
He's right about that. I think there's going to be a civil war. I personally think that Feinstein has triggered a civil war in America. I fear the deranged people out there. They're going to go ballistic over what they did to this guy. That's the truth. But you know, hold it. Him whining like this is not good. He sounds weak. He sounds broken. He sounds whiny. It's no good. The whole thing is no good. But, okay, you want to keep hearing it? You want to wallow in this with him? Go ahead. Let's wallow in it another minute or two.
This first allegation was held in secret for weeks by a Democratic member of this committee and by staff. It would be needed only if you couldn't take me out on the merits. When it was needed, this allegation was unleashed and publicly deployed over Dr. Ford's wishes. And then, as no doubt was expected, if not planned, came a long series of false last-minute smears designed to scare me and drive me out of the process.
All right, we're going to have to break in a minute on the Savage Nation. Of course, we're listening to Mr. Kavanaugh defending himself, and rightly so, having been broken by the system. I don't know how he can function. I don't know why he doesn't withdraw. They've destroyed his reputation forever. He's tarnished, which is what Feinstein specializes in. And the big question is, why are the accusers never questioned themselves with regard to their activities? I don't understand the Republicans at all. Most particularly, I'll leave you with one pregnant question, which is, why was this Bush man, a man from the Bush administration, picked by Donald Trump when he had recommendations of true conservatives? Who is it in the inner circle of the Trump administration who steered him toward this loser? Did they set Trump up to fall, knowing that this guy had this stuff swirling in the background, or that it would be brought up whether it's true or false, and they would bring him down? Who set Trump up to pick Kavanaugh when there were people who absolutely were beyond reproach in any way, such as the woman appointee who I mentioned yesterday? I got to take a quick break. I'll be right back. This is the Savage Nation. Go to michaelsavage.com, go to my Twitter feed, and read about, is Dr. Ford deeply tied to the CIA, and judge for yourself.
Savage.
Welcome back to the sad hearing today. I'm watching the guy break down, and I'm only asking myself, why didn't John McCain leave him the pink tie? I don't like it. I'm sorry. I don't like weakness in myself. I don't like weakness in a Supreme Court nominee. Of course, I like the destruction. I dislike the destruction of a human being even more, and he has every right to be injured. But I don't understand a few things. First of all, why did Donald Trump pick him if there was even a scintilla of a question, of a doubt about his being nominated? Meaning, forget the sexual allegations. It was a marginal choice to begin with. Trump came to power amongst us, the hardcore who put him in power, because he said a number of things. And one of the main things he presented was he was not a Bushie, didn't like Bush, didn't like the old guard, didn't like the swamp. Bush represented the swamp. So now he goes and picks, of all of the 25 choices, nominees for the Supreme Court, he picked this guy who was a Bushie. Why? Who in his inner circle pushed this name ahead of all the others? Some of the others would have been ushered right in, such as the woman I mentioned yesterday. But why was she stepped over for Kavanaugh? Who whispered in Trump's ear to pick this guy? That's the real question. I mean, we could look at this and say how they treated him is terrible, and it's true. But coming from Feinstein, that's what she specializes in, lies and deceit, in my opinion. So what do you think is going to happen now? Let's listen in again. I hope he stopped with the weeping job.
People to report evidence of sexual wrongdoing, and it worked. Exposed some prominent people. Nothing about me. From 2001 to 2006, I worked for President George W. Bush.
No, listen to Bush now. Well, that to me is not a good resume.
I was by President Bush's side for
not
3
good.
years and was entrusted with the nation's most sensitive secrets.
Not good.
I traveled on Air Force One all over the country and the world with President Bush.
That's good.
I went everywhere with him, from Texas to Pakistan, from Alaska to Australia, from Buckingham Palace to the Vatican.
And
3 years in the West Wing, 5.5
in other words,
years
he's
in the White
saying
House.
all those years that no one was worried about him. No CIA, no FBI, nothing.
I was thoroughly vetted by the White House.
Now all of a sudden the Valley Girl comes along with a crybaby act with a bottle of soda.
I sat before this committee for 2 thorough confirmation hearings.
Turn it off for 1 second. First of all, I got a sore throat. I've been up since 5 in the morning watching this. Secondly, I got a half a migraine on the right side of my head. A half of the right side, not even the full. I know what's coming. Another 30 minutes of this. I'm going to have to reach for an aspirin. I can't take much more of it. Am I alone? How much of this can we take? I will tell you right now, what Dianne Feinstein has done is cause irreparable damage to the Supreme Court, to government itself, to anybody who would nominate themselves to be in government. They have to have their heads examined. You talk about this? Who in the world listening to this show would ever want to go into government with a witch like Dianne Feinstein laying in the background, laying in wait like a viper out of the Bible trying to throw a trap in your way? Who would ever go there again? What decent person would ever want to serve this government? I wouldn't. I'll tell you right now. You think I'd ever want to go through a Senate confirmation hearing to run a science agency after this? Never. The politics of personal destruction, blood sport. We all know what those words mean. And now we're looking at one of the victims. So the question to you is, who do you believe more, the choir boy or the Valley Girl? And I know most of you have already drawn your opinions before the show, before it all started. I think we're pretty much lined up according to party lines, and I don't doubt that that's the fact. But I'm an expert on mass psychosis, mass amnesia, and mass hysteria. And I am telling you right now, what Dianne Feinstein has done is destroy the credibility of the government for the next 50 years. And what's ironic is that she herself is not above reproach.
Savage.
And we go back to Mr. Kavanaugh's breaking down on the stand.
Presumably happened on a weekend.
Okay.
If it was a weekend, my calendars show that I was out of town almost every weekend night.
Anyone listening to the show keep a calendar in high school?
Started in late August.
Did you have a daily planner when you were in high school? Boy, those Jesuit monks must have tough.
Friday, June 4.
Your calendar is not neat. They slap you on the wrists. Look what it did to Jerry Brown, raised by Jesuits. The crying, I'm sorry. And by the way, I need to be a little comedic in the political arena for a minute. Turn off the sound. I noticed when he was about to break down over the Father or the Mother or the Holy Ghost there, I don't know which one, he has a technique of putting his tongue inside his cheek to sort of stop the crying. Is anyone listening to the show? Does that work? The next time I feel like crying over something, do I put my tongue inside? Do they teach you that in Catholic school? As the nuns are beating your wrists or the priests are beating your wrists with a ruler? Jim, you went to Catholic school, didn't you? Do you put your tongue inside your cheek to stop from crying? Is that part of the upbringing? Because I didn't learn. I was taught by my father is just don't cry. Act like a man. I'm sorry, my friends. I cannot take any more of this. I may have to go to something else, but I know you're going to watch it on some channel anyway and co-listen to me going on here. But, you know, what I gave you at the beginning of the show is probably the biggest story of the day. I would be surprised if it's not stolen by Fox News before my show is, well, I would say tonight when my student goes on, where I ask, is Dr. Ford deeply tied to the CIA? I didn't make any of this up. It was sent to me by people who researched this. But I've asked earlier on my Twitter feeds, having watched her act, do you believe her? Republicans blew it using that incompetent Arizona blimp who asked all the wrong questions, not ready for hearings. Grassley now has become the face of the party, old and shaky. I said, how can she treat patients who suffered far greater traumas when she is still fractured from this, which is really a big question. And then my latest, which is the ties to the deep state. And those are really big stories, big questions, rather, and I have tons of answers, such as why no police report from the beginning? And who are those lawyers around her? Who was the one on the left with the dark eyes, the dark hair? I know who she is. Who was the guy on the right? Baldy. We know who he is. We got his background. Why did she go upstairs with the boys? Usually houses have bathrooms on both floors. Am I allowed to ask that? Listen to me carefully. She was in a house. She said she went upstairs with the boys up the steps. Wasn't there a bathroom on the main floor? Don't all houses have bathrooms on main floors and on the upper floor, like a half bath up in like the attic rooms? What was she going up there with them for? I guess it was Bible study. I wouldn't know. Number two, she has all these top degrees at these good universities, married, kids. But she's so traumatized she can't fly except for scuba lessons in Hawaii. Why was she using the Valley Girl voice, the innocent Valley Girl voice? My friends, can you answer this question? Why is there so much humor while a man's life was being destroyed without due process? She was coached for 100% as far as she's coached from the top. And the Democrats didn't look too good as far as I'm concerned. None of them look good to me. But, you know, the party lines have been drawn. This is the Mason-Dixon line. This is the Civil War all over again. There's the North and the South. There's the Dems and the Republicans. And even if you weren't on the side of the Republicans, you are now. And even if you were on the side of the Democrats, you are now if you're a woman, because they've got you emotionally. The Mason-Dixon line is drawn. The powder is dry. All we need is a Fort Sumter, and I'm afraid this could be Fort Sumter because there are a lot of deranged people in this country who are far less stable than you are, and they're going to go off like rockets over this destruction of a man because they're going to identify with what has happened to them from feminist lawyers of the type that are coaching him. I don't want to see it happen, but it is going to happen, and I've warned you that it would happen. I've seen it happen. I'm seeing it happen again. I don't know that Kavanaugh's doing himself a favor here by crying so much, but what would you do if you were him? That's the real question. You know, put yourself in his place. Would you have withdrawn before the hearing and say, you know, I can't put my name forward. They've destroyed me before I even got up here. I respectfully withdraw. How is he going to even be a federal judge after this? Let's say his name stays up and they do have a vote on Monday, right? And he doesn't get nominated and he has to sit on the federal bench. Do you realize that if you were an opposing attorney in any case that comes before him, you could have him dismissed as a judge now? Do you realize that? That the man may not be able to be considered an impartial judge as a result of these hearings. His life is ruined in several different ways now. So, Diane, you did a very good job. You've done what you've done all your life. You got away with murder. In this case, you murdered someone in public, and you got away with it because you didn't actually have him murdered, as you never did with anyone. I know that for a fact. We all know that. You don't have to murder people in this world. You just destroy their name and reputation, and you laugh all the way to the bank. You laugh all the way to the bank. Bulletproof vests that are not bulletproof, carts in airports, U.S. postal buildings that come up for sale that you get at a discount. You know, things like that. That's part and parcel of the vigorish that you get from being a U.S. senator. I mean, you make $170,000 a year, but you're worth $50 million. How does that work? No one knows. No one can ask. The Senate today in this country is like the Roman Senate. And now we're watching what is a kangaroo court has convicted a man. He's probably a decent guy. What did he actually do? Do we know what he did? Did he really go upstairs with the girl and throw her on a bed? Did he? I don't know. I wasn't there. I can't say. Is she a liar? I don't trust the word she said. That little girl, cutesy, pleated skirt, Catholic school kid, it doesn't sell for me. I'm sorry. Not for a grown woman in her 50s. She's not 13 years old. She acted like she was still 13. Someone put her in a state of mind where she was still 15. She was actually trying to channel the 15-year-old. Yes, ma'am. I don't know. Yes. Oh, yes, ma'am. Like a 15-year-old Catholic schoolgirl. I'm sorry I didn't buy the act. But most of American women did. That's unfortunately true. They're with her. And the Mason-Dixon line is firmly now drawn. The powder has been dried. The wicks have been lit. And Fort Sumter is awaiting us. Whether this hearing is the Fort Sumter that we feared ever since I wrote Stop the Coming Civil War, I don't know. I pray it is not. But I will tell you right now that it's going to get worse after this hearing. There are a lot of people who are marginal who are going to go off on both sides of the aisle. This is a kabuki drama, those of you who understand drama. This is a kabuki drama. Let's let the people who are listening to the show, well, let's hear him for 30 seconds. Then I'm going to take some calls on the program. Go ahead. Let's hear him again.
Many of us went along in the yearbook to the point of absurdity. This past week...
Again, the tongue in the
My friends and I have cringed.
What's with the tongue in the cheek? That's a technique I got to practice next time I want to cry. I haven't cried in a long time, except when I talk to Teddy.
When we read about it and talked to each other.
I can't take it. It's, you know what I mean? I feel like playing The Godfather where he talks to the character, the Frank Sinatra character, where he smacks him in the face and says, "Act like a man!" That's what I want to hear. But I'm not going to hear that. This is the Pink Shirt Brigade here. What do you think, though? I think the callers need to talk for a minute. You're burning up out there. You're dying. You can't take it anymore, right? Let's go to New York City, WABC. Ben, give us a short version. What do you think?
My call.
Well, God, speak already.
Are you there?
Speak already. Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. Hey, listen, great show. Thank you very much. My comment.
Again, nothing. Again, at first I don't hear you. Now, great show. Thank you very much. Sorry, you lose the podium. I got to train my audience. I'm not an ordinary talk show host. I'm Michael Savage. I do it differently. So here's the rules. When I call you and I say your name and the line, you speak. Don't ever say, "Thank you for taking my call," or I hang up on you. Don't say it's an honor. I don't need you to tell me it's an honor. Without you, there'd be no show. So here we go again. Next caller. We'll give New York one more chance. Steve on WABC. Line 5. Fire away.
Dr. Savage, I am absolutely infuriated at the performance today that I have seen and listened to. I'm working. I'm a working man. Something similar happened to me where a woman was making up stories.
Oh, wait a minute. I don't care about your life. I'm asking you about this.
Exactly, but this woman was obviously coached as the police and the DAs were coaching my
All right, so you're saying she looks like she was coached from the beginning?
I could hear it because I only had a radio. I could hear that she was coached because she was saying the same things in the same ways repeatedly. If you listen closely, she was to say these things. And it's absolutely infuriating that her 4 minutes worth of trauma has so shattered her that her life is destroyed. And 35 years later, she's so traumatized.
Well, I have to take you on that. Traumas can occur in 30 seconds that last a lifetime, so I don't think that argument holds water. But I didn't like her act of the little girl voice, the Valley Girl voice. I mean, she's allegedly a Ph.D. She trains people in psychology. She runs a CIA internment program. Does she teach with that voice? Look, I'm in the San Francisco area. Is there anyone listening to this program who has ever been in the presence of Dr. Fraud? Does she normally speak in that voice when she teaches? Jim, keep an open line for that. Hello, Jim. I'm tapping the screen to Dallas. I want one open line. I want one student of Dr. Ford or one patient of Dr. Ford to call this program right now and tell us if she normally speaks in that childish Valley Girl voice. It didn't seem true to me. But what is the difference what I think or what you think? What matters is what's going to happen with the vote. And you know and I know Susan Collins is gone. You know Jeff Flake is gone. And I can name 2 others that are gone. I think it's over. He can't be nominated. And the next question is, what is Donald Trump going to do between now and then? Is he going to take a stand? Is he going to tweet? He is going to tweet. He's got to. I know he's probably being held back right now. There's probably 3 people sitting on his fingers right now saying, please don't. But I think something's coming before the end of the day from the president. I'd be quite surprised if he doesn't chime in before the vote. Okay? But again, the listeners of the show, what's important to me, it's our show. It's our show. It's our show. What do you think? What do you think? KSFO, Brian, line 9, fire away.
Well, I'm disappointed in Senator Lee. I'm disappointed in Senator Cruz. I'm disappointed in Lindsey Graham. They had an opportunity as lawyers, as people who have engaged in cross-examination today, to take this lady on her face because she has so many glaring problems with her testimony, because that's what it was. And she was treated with kid gloves. I've never seen anything like it. They hired a prosecutor to cross-examine a complainant. Now, that's the shoe on the other foot, obviously, because normally a defense lawyer is the person who cross-examines a complainant. Here you
Yes.
have no questions asked, Dr. Savage, about were there any marks in her face when he supposedly...
Yes, 100%. I would have asked some leading questions about the act itself, and it wouldn't have been very polite. It would have been along the lines of, when Mr. Kavanaugh threw himself on you, was he aroused? That's what I would have done, and I would have wanted an answer from her. I mean, she's up there destroying a man. Was he aroused or not?
How'd you get up so easily? I mean, how were you able to break free of two guys?
How were you, a woman in a wet swimsuit, able to throw two men on the floor? Are you trained in martial arts?
The whole thing was a stage production. That's what's scary about this, and the rules...
You're right, and I blame the Republicans for hiding behind the woman they dragged in from Maricopa County. I got to take a break. I love my listeners. Back in a minute.
Savage.
We'll be back to Kavanaugh in a minute, but I'll tell you something about sleep. I'm going to need a good night's sleep tonight, and it's interesting to me that I'm going to be talking about Casper mattress right now, because you'll get a good night's sleep as I do. It's what I look forward to every night. And you can switch to Casper. It's a no-brainer. Very high quality, very affordable price. You'll sleep cool and comfortably. They have a unique combination of foams, and it comes to your door for free in a very little box. You're not going to believe it comes in such a little box. And if you don't love it, they'll pick it up, refund you everything. From its engineering to its packaging to letting you try it for 100 nights for free, it's no wonder Casper has over 35,000 five-star reviews of all their products across Casper, Google, and Amazon. And the best way to try it, sleep on it. Put Casper to the test in your own home. For 100 nights for free, go to Casper.com, code SAVAGE. You will get $50 towards the purchase of select mattresses. You heard me right. That's Casper.com, code SAVAGE. You'll get $50 towards the purchase of select mattresses. Casper.com, terms and conditions apply. Let's jump right back to Mr. Kavanaugh defending his honor. Let's hear it.
I ask you to judge me by the standard that you would want applied to your father, your husband.
Oh, please.
Your
Look who he's
brother.
appealing to. Look who he's appealing to.
Or your son.
Not working. I pity the wife in the background there.
My family and I intend
No,
no
it's sad.
ill will toward Dr. Ford or her family.
Why not? I'd have ill will to her. What are you joking
But I
about? See,
swear
this I don't go
under
for.
oath
Of course he has ill will to her.
before the Senate and the
You wouldn't have ill will to someone who destroyed your name and ruined your family?
and God.
Ill will.
I am innocent of this charge.
Well, it's too late, okay? You're innocent. What good is it going to do you?
Thank you.
Tell it to Susan
Judge
Collins.
Kavanaugh.
Who now?
Before
Oh, him
we
again?
start questions,
On the Corn
I
Belt
won't
there he
repeat
is.
what I said this morning, but we'll do it the same way.
What is
as
this
we
guy
did
now, the
for
face of the
Dr.
Republican
Ford.
Party? Exactly
And,
everything wrong
5-minute
today.
Rounds. And
He's
so
gonna take a
we
break
will
now for the
start
pens
with,
change.
Miss Mitchell.
Are they bringing her in now, Miss Maricopa? Judge Arpaio's...
Good afternoon, Judge Kavanaugh.
You know who she
We have
looks
not
like,
met.
by the way?
My name is Rachel Mitchell.
There's a guy who was thrown
I'd
off
like
the
to
air in
go
San
over a couple of
Francisco years ago for a
guidelines
child
for
pornography charge,
Question and answer
and he was
session
let out of
today.
jail recently. This looks like him in
If I ask
his
a
jailhouse
question-
outfit. He just
Yeah, I'm
popped up
ready.
in the news again yesterday.
If I ask
I didn't
a
even know he was
question-
out.
If I ask a question that you do not understand,
I'm
please ask me to
sorry. The
clarify
type.
it or ask
Is
it
that a
in
wig?
a different way.
Is she wearing a frum wig?
I may ask a question where I incorporate some
A lot of women wear this type
information
of,
you've already provided.
I don't even know
If I
what to
get it
think of it
wrong, please
anymore.
correct
I
me.
use humor. I'm comedic in the
I'm not
political
going
humor. I will
ask
be
you
to the end of my
guess.
days.
If you do estimate,
Look
please
how
let me
long
know
she
you're
takes. Look at
estimating.
this wasting time.
Now, I want to make sure that
Ask
all
a
of the
question
committee members
already.
have gotten a copy
See, here's the
of
problem.
the
They brought in a
definition of sexual
greenhorn
behavior.
here. Turn her off. They brought in a greenhorn who doesn't understand it's not a court of law. It's a court of public opinion. It's done in sound bites. It's all about visual and audio. It's not about taking all day to ask one question. Did the fly walk across the floor?
Savage. Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. Now, here he is, author of Liberalism is a Mental Disorder, Trump's War, and God, Faith, and Reason, Michael Savage.
All right, welcome back to the Kavanaugh hearings. It's actually sickening to watch Dianne Feinstein. I would have torn her apart. He finally got a chance to face the witch who destroyed him, and he didn't even attack her. He sat there like a putz, licking his cheek, What is wrong with these guys? What these Republicans of the Bush era, I'm sure inside they're much tougher than they look, or they wouldn't have gotten where they are. Why do they always present as such weaklings like this? Feinstein has the nerve, after destroying this man by withholding that accusation till after the hearings had already occurred, and instead of saying, how dare you ask me this question about the FBI when it's you should be investigated by the FBI for your behavior, number one, and I'd like to see what she says about that, and number two, you're the one who withheld this right to the 12th hour. How dare you ask me about a FBI investigation? But he didn't do that. No, he let her get away with it. And that's the problem we have in America today. It's not a left-right thing. It's a matter of guts versus no guts. Now, the Mason-Dixon line is clear. Many of you listening to the show have made up your mind before the hearing, probably haven't changed your opinion since Ford spoke, since Kavanaugh spoke. But if you have and you want to sound off, I am open to that. But I've asked some questions today that are worth repeating on the show. Having watched her act, do you believe her? Okay, that's number one. How can she treat patients who suffered far greater traumas when she says she's still fractured from this little incident 36 years ago? I also stated this morning that the Republicans have blown it by using that incompetent Arizona prosecutor who asked all the wrong questions in the wrong time period. She was not ready for prime time, and as a result, the American people didn't get what they really paid to watch. And then later on in the program, we put up some questions for you, which is Dr. Ford deeply tied to the CIA, and would that answer some of your questions? And I asked you, who is Dr. Blasey Ford? I'm surprised you haven't heard this yet from the geniuses on Fox News. They have staffs of hundreds that do research. Well, we found this morning. Besides being a professor at the Off-Brand University in a parking lot, she also works at a major university down the street from Palo Alto University. And she just so happens to be the head of the CIA undergraduate internship program at Stanford University. I'll repeat that again for those of you who don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Dr. Ford heads up the CIA undergrad internship program at Stanford. What does that actually mean? It means she's the gatekeeper to people who want to go into the CIA. She's an advanced recruiter, in other words. Well, nothing wrong with that. I like the CIA. I think they do great work. Christine Blasey's brother, Ralph III, used to work for the international law firm of Baker Hostetler. That is the very same firm that created Fusion GPS, which is the company that wrote the Russian dossier. Then they later admitted it was only a collection of field interviews. You want to hear any more about that? This law firm, Baker Hostetler, is located in the same building where the CIA operates three companies called Redcoats, Inc., Admiral Security Services, and Data Watch. And who operates them? Ralph Blasey II. And who is he? He's the father of Dr. Ford and Ralph III. Christine and Ralph III's grandpa was another American, and a good one, Nicholas Deak. Former CIA Director William Casey acknowledged Deak's decades of service to the CIA. Why am I telling you this? Well, I have great respect for the intelligence agencies of America. I think they do a great job. But I think that the American people need to know that Dr. Ford apparently is deeply tied to these intelligence agencies. And as we have seen in recent months with the outrage of a former CIA director named John Brennan, who took every opportunity to attack our duly elected president day in and day out and day in, from morning till night. There he was, attacking President Trump. Former director of the CIA, over and over and over again, Brennan, attacking the president. How many of his appointees are still in the CIA? And is it possible that any of these former appointees of the Brennan School, of the Obama School, are behind the smear job on Kavanaugh? I think the probability is very high. Should it affect your opinion? Only if you have an opinion and it's affectable. I don't know if your opinions can be affected at this point at all. Well, the hearing is taking a break now. It's I guess they take a hydration break now. Nothing to joke about here. It's a sad day to see a man destroyed like this. And by the way, did you see the thug that the Republicans had to provide for Dr. Ford? I don't know where they got him from. He looked like he was from a torture cell somewhere in Iraq. Looks like he was used somewhere with a hood to break people in Iraq somewhere. I don't know where he came from, what a bodyguard he was. Remember she said she was afraid to come to the hearing? Remember that little stunt? Oh, I don't know if I can speak. Oh, I'm so traumatized. Oh, I don't know if I can fly. I only fly to scuba lessons. Well, there he was. She was well protected, well hydrated, caffeinated, sugar-rated. And here he was crying his way through the hearings. So, you know, we can sit here and mock them the rest of our lives. What difference does it make? It's not up to us. We're not voting on this, are we? We're not voting. Who's voting? 100 of the biggest schmendricks in the country are voting. 100 of them get to decide yes or no. And everything is at stake. You do know what's at stake here, don't you? Now, Trump could have picked the woman candidate of the 25 nominees for the Supreme Court. He picked the worst possible one. And whoever said to him and whispered in his ear, oh, pick Kavanaugh. He was with the Bush family. Why didn't his alarm bells go off? If they pushed forward a Bush lawyer, a Bush-era lawyer, who flew on Air Force One with Bush here, Bush there, a Bushie, the exact people we voted against when we said no to Jeb Bush, by the way. When we said no to Jeb Bush in the primaries, we picked a businessman with guts from New York City, Donald Trump. You remember what Trump did to Bush? Ripped him to shreds, made a mockery of him. Why would he pick someone recommended by the Bush family called Kavanaugh when he had other choices? You got to go. This is, again, going back to what I've tried to explain to you over all the years in radio. Plato's Republic, the Savage Nation, name of the show came from Plato's Republic. I called it the Savage Nation 25 years ago. And what did we learn from these early dialogues at Plato? He wrote that most people don't actually see the actors know what's really going on. They only see shadows on the wall. And in watching the shadows on the wall, we think we know what the actors are actually doing and who's behind the actors, but we don't. We're only watching shadows on the wall. And this shadow on the wall, Kavanaugh, and this shadow on the wall named Dr. Ford are just shadows on the wall of a much bigger kabuki drama. And who is it who's pulling the strings? Well, you'll have to think about this. Not the first time we've seen a kabuki drama like this in America, have we? Nor will it be the last. And so what will happen is anyone's guess. You know that there's wobblers there. You know Susan Collins gone. You know that Jeff Flake is flaky enough. He's gone. He signaled yesterday he was voting against Kavanaugh. That's 2 down. There's no margin. It's one person. That person's gone. My prediction is Kavanaugh doesn't get nominated. And I don't even think the Republicans are going to hold a vote. I don't see how they can. If they know they're going to lose and don't have the votes, why would you hold a vote? That's like the old adage, never get into a fight that you know you're going to lose. Why fight if you know you're going to lose? Why? So they made a huge mistake, tactical and otherwise, and here we're going to be stuck now because the Republicans are going to lose seats after this by the droves. I don't think they've gained one woman voter. I think they've lost more women voters. And unfortunately, I think there's going to be a lot more of these left-wing fanatics winning than we would like to believe. Even though they're dirty, even though they're smear artists, even though they're un-American, even though every last one of those who have done this to Kavanaugh should be in prison themselves for destroying a man without proper evidence, I'm afraid the average moron out there doesn't see it that way. But how do you see it is the question. The Arizona prosecutor asked more disturbing questions of Kavanaugh, did you notice, than Ford? Did you notice she went right into the sexuality almost immediately? I was very interested in that. All of a sudden, she became militant. You know who I'm talking about, don't you? The one with the fright wig. It looks like Freddy the Clown on like Nightmare on Elm Street. With the smile face. Why did she suddenly ask him about sexual questions and give Dr. Ford a pass? Why didn't she ask her the sexual questions? And she's the one who says she was assaulted. I don't know. In a court of law, are you allowed to say to the woman, look, we don't want to embarrass you, but you're claiming a man did this to you, or did you? So we have to ask you some questions. And here are some of I would ask the loaded questions about her. See how she answers. That's how you tell if there's any truth in what she's saying. When you ask her the tough ones, not which house did you live in, and here's a map of the area. I know what she was talking about. The prosecutor, she had maps of Washington, D.C. Like there was unlimited time. Here's a map. Here's a chart. Here's your house. Here's that house. Here's the steps. Here's the toilet bowl. There's the sink. What kind of questions are those? Stupid. Not smart. Not a smart one. I don't know where she came from. But right away she went after Kavanaugh with sex questions. Bingo. Right out of the gate. Right. I was shocked, actually. I thought Kavanaugh would die. He looked like he was going to turn red. After crying, it looked like he'd actually start to cry. But the whole thing, okay, is a bit of a circus. What do you think is the question? That's what I want to know. Phone number is 855-400-7282. Do you think Kavanaugh can still make it? Do you think Kavanaugh will withdraw? Do you think Trump will tweet saying that he believes Dr. Ford before the vote? Or he will tweet and say, I believe Mr. Kavanaugh before the vote? Those are the questions. You have the answers. The phone number is 855-400-7282. This is Michael Savage, author of Hysteria, which will be out in less than 10 days. And you know, when I wrote it, I said America's insanity from the Salem witch trials to the Trump witch hunt. My God. I should have said the Kavanaugh witch hunt. But if you don't know that Kavanaugh is a proxy for Trump, then you don't know much. Back in a minute.
Savage.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you.
No kidding, Charles. How would you know that? They have 6 ways to Sunday getting back at you. And if they fail at getting back at you, they get back at your proxy, such as Kavanaugh. But then again, I don't want to be too smart for the room. Let's stick to basics. Do you believe her or do you believe him? Let's do regular radio. Let's talk about regular radio. Do you believe her or do you believe him? Let's not look at the shadows on the wall and who's pulling the strings or who's flashing the lights behind the curtain. No, let's not go there. But if you want to talk about it, the Arizona prosecutor was a giveaway unto itself. The main characters, as you know, on the stage are the great Dr. Ford, who teaches at a swamp university, a swamp front university. And then there's Kavanaugh, the Bush appointee. But who are the other characters on the stage? Well, we have the strange case of the Republicans, who many of whom are skilled defense attorneys or prosecutors, suddenly dummying up and using this woman from Joe Arpaio's county, Maricopa County, who did nothing to nail Christine Ford to a cross, let her get off scot-free, basically, ask her nothing. Maps about the district. And in other words, she wasted the whole investigation of Ford on nothing, on nonsense. But the minute she had a chance with Kavanaugh, she went right to the issues of sex. Did you notice that? You tell me there was no bias in the blimp? No? I disagree with you. KSFO Mike, how do you feel about this whole charade?
Thank you for taking my call. I was sitting there scratching my head this morning because Jeff Flake is one of the few people who seem to be a standoff wanting to vote for Kavanaugh. And then all of a sudden, amazingly, we get this prosecutor that's clear from Arizona when everything's going on in D.C. And I guess I'm wondering, how did she come to be the magic choice of the entire country that they picked her? And was this a favor to Mr. Flake, who, by the way, absolutely hates Trump? And is this just our knife that we get from Mr. Flake as he makes his way out of office?
Well, I understand that. He's the new John McCain. But the question is, this prosecutor, didn't you see that she treated Dr. Ford with kid gloves, and the minute she got in front of Kavanaugh, she went right for his throat?
It was almost embarrassing, frankly. I was watching Lindsey Graham last night, who's usually Mr. Soft, but even he was a judge and a prosecutor.
I love, Lindsey Graham is showing the real stuff he's made of. I talked to him in person when I was in D.C., and I got to know him pretty well in the sense that he went right up to me and said, Savage, before I met you, I thought you were BS crazy. I said, well, Senator Graham, I thought you were more than that before I met you. I thought you were crazier than BS crazy. Well, he laughed. We became friends. And he told me after we got to talk a bit, I said, how did you get such street smarts, Senator Graham? And he said, I grew up in a pool hall in the South. People don't know that about him. He knows people real well.
I sit here and I just watch all of them fold and sit down. And the only way that we're actually going to let this place survive, this country that I fight for, frankly, every day, is, to actually stand up if punched. And we got punched, and the entire Republican Party just sat down, and I just...
Yeah. No, they're like a Joe Palooka bop bag from the old days. They're just standing there getting hit. But the prosecutor's a setup. The woman, rather.
I agree.
The sex one. She's a setup. There's no question in my mind she was brought in to destroy Kavanaugh. Now, he's back up there. Let's see where she goes next in terms of how graphic she gets with him. And ask yourself, why didn't she get graphic with the accuser, which is what was certainly necessary. I don't know. Maybe you don't agree with me. Giovanna on KSFO Radio. What do you think? Go ahead quickly.
So mad that I can pull my hair out. I was born in the Bronx, and this smells like dead fish. All of them. It's ridiculous. I don't buy her little girl voice at all.
Oh, you don't buy the little prep school voice?
No.
The speaking with the upper inflection? Miss Innocent with the pleat skirt? All right, well, I don't know. Do women buy her act or not? I can't speak for a woman. Women do get sexually assaulted. There's no question about that. Let's not be foolish about it.
Savage.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you.
Yes, of course. We went to parties, and the yearbook page describes that and kind of makes fun of it. And as if we want to sit here and talk about whether a Supreme Court nomination should be based on a high school yearbook page, I think that's taken us to a new level of absurdity.
Leahy is, of course, always been one of the scummiest of all.
Well, we got a filibuster, but not a single answer.
Ms. Mitchell.
Judge, do you still have
Here
your
she comes again.
calendars there?
Watch her go for his throat. Watch.
I would like you to look at the July 1st
She's supposed to be on our
entry.
side. Watch her now. Watch the blimp. Suddenly the blimp has a pair of wings.
Yes.
The entry says, and I quote, "Go to Timmy's for skis with Judge, Tom, PJ, Bernie."
Can you imagine this if you had to go through this, listener?
It's a nickname.
Okay. To what does this refer and to whom?
So first says Tobin's House workout. So that's one of the football workouts.
Oh, that's
that we
evil.
Would have,
you worked out.
Dr.
Okay.
Finizio would run.
That's so sexist.
For guys on the football team during the summer. So we would be there. That's usually 6 to 8 or so. Kind of.
I went to Doc's Pharmacy to
dark.
work till 9 o'clock at night
and then
myself.
it looks like we went over to
football
Timmy's.
practice.
You want to know
My
their
problem
last names too?
Is I don't actually like him at all. I don't like prep school boys. I never did. That's my real problem. I can't warm up to this guy. But on the other hand, the way they're treating him makes me like him. On his side.
It's Tim
he shouldn't have been picked. That's the problem. He's the wrong one.
J. Smith, Bernie McCarthy, Chris Garrett.
What is she asking stupid inane questions for?
He is.
Did you, in your calendar, routinely document social gatherings?
What is she doing?
Like house parties.
See, guys, turn her voice off for a minute. This woman is so green at what she is doing. She's never done prime time. She doesn't understand the media. She doesn't understand sound bites. She doesn't understand that this is not a deposition where you have days and days to ask any question and lay the trap for the other side as carefully as you can. She has no idea what she's doing. Who put this idiot up there? A map of Washington, and here's your house, and here's the toilet, and here's the sink, and the Buick dealership was here. And when you walked to the Buick dealership, did you stumble up the steps? And when you fell off the bed, did you wind up at Disneyland? I don't know what she was even talking about before. Now she's asking about a diary entry. Let's listen again to this setup woman. Where is she from?
I think that's go to Becky's.
Oh, God, I'm exhausted from it. Am I the only one in America who has a migraine
Denise,
from her?
Lori.
If we
Jenny.
could vote on putting Feinstein and Leahy in jail, would we vote on that right now?
Have you
90%
reviewed
put him
every
in prison.
entry that is in these calendars?
By the way,
May,
what
June,
was
July,
Leahy
and
doing in
August?
high school? I'd like to see his diary. What was he like, that doll?
Anything that could
What
even
is this?
remotely fit what we're talking about in terms
Oh,
of
this
Dr.
is so
Ford's
bad.
allegations?
No.
Okay, you made your point. Now what?
As a lawyer and a judge, we've talked about the FBI. Are you aware that this type of offense would actually be investigated by local police?
Yes, I mentioned Montgomery County Police earlier, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Are you aware that in Maryland there is no statute of limitations that would prohibit you being charged, even if this happened in 1982?
Did you hear what she just did?
Did
you hear what she just did to him? She actually said he can be charged with rape now.
Of local police agencies regarding this matter.
She's leading him into a trap. She's supposed to be on our side? Which Republican picked this idiot?
For Supreme Court. You've talked about all of the
Oh my God, she's prosecuting him.
That you've worked with.
Oh.
I'm not just talking about them. I'm talking about
Oh my God, it's worse than I think.
Have you ever been accused, either formally or informally?
I am so
of
glad that I am not in
behavior?
politics.
No.
And when I say informally, I
thank
mean
God
just
I never asked
a
Trump
female complaint.
for a
It doesn't
position
have
in
to
the
be to
sciences.
anybody else
I
but
thank
you.
God I'm not anywhere near those people. They get me sick.
Since
These
Dr.
careful,
Fidel's
plotting
was made
beta
public,
minds.
How many times have you
What's with the pen in her hair
been
clicking?
interviewed by the
She
committee?
clicks it one more time, I'm going to go crazy. I don't like the clicking either.
It's been a 3 or 4. I'm
All right,
trying
look,
to remember
guys,
now.
you want to talk?
It's been several times.
I'm infuriated. I'm watching this. I'm getting angrier by the second. Sue on WABC line 1. How do you feel right now watching this? How do you feel watching this kabuki drama?
Oh, it's disgraceful. And as a woman, I am so disgusted. First of all, with Feinstein herself, but then I watched this woman. This is absolutely a disgrace.
What you mean this one they got from Arizona who's supposed to be on our side, handpicked by the Republicans, and she's actually prosecuting Kavanaugh?
Oh, I'm.
Did you hear what she just said? Are you aware that a crime has no statute of limitations in the county of Maryland? She's basically saying he could be arrested right now.
I'm just. And I really thought he was trying. He was really getting it together and trying to give it back to Leahy, but. Now I see him with this woman, and it's just...
Yeah, again, right. He gave it back to Leahy. He didn't take it from that liar from Vermont, Leaky Leahy, who gave away the secrets of our military many times in public. Who's now? Turban Durbin is up next? The one who called our Marines? Senator Dick Durbin, who represents a largely Muslim community, who has never seen a crime committed by an Islamo-fascist that he's found offensive. The same Dick Durbin who called our Marines in Aditha Nazis and fascists? Yeah, that's the one you're listening to now. Mr. Softjew, let's hear him now.
You unequivocally denied that you assaulted Dr. Ford. With that statement, you must believe that there is no credible evidence or any credible witness that could prove otherwise.
Have you stopped beating your
started
wife?
off with an impassioned statement at the beginning, and I can try to imagine.
Oh, you can imagine? Where were you in high school, you phony you? Let me see your journals from high school.
I'm sure I wouldn't. It's an impassioned statement.
Does anyone have Dick Durbin's high school journals? Where was he in high school? What did he do?
Kind of investigation.
Look at these people sitting on their high horse.
I welcome any kind of investigation. I've got a suggestion for you. Right now, turn to your left in the front row. To Don McGahn, counsel to President Donald Trump. Ask him to suspend this hearing and
oh my God!
Until the FBI completes its investigation.
Oh my God!
Of the charges made by Dr.
Oh
Ford
Lord!
And goes to bring the witnesses forward and provides that information.
All they want is delay, deny.
The chairman at that point
They're waiting for the election.
That is a reasonable request to finally put to rest these charges if they are false, or to prove them if they are not.
That's nonsense.
You spent 2 years in the White House office that approved judicial nominees. You turn to the FBI over and over and over again for their work.
He's been through
Let's
3
bring them
FBI
here
investigations.
And now. Turn to Don McGahn and tell him it's time to get
look
this
at the
done.
nerve of
An
this
FBI investigation
Durbin.
is the only
Dirtier
way to
than I
answer
ever
some of these
thought.
Stop the clock.
You say something, you putz you from
committee
the Corn Belt.
Is running this hearing. Not the White House, not Don McGahn, not even you as a nominee.
You don't know what he's talking about. He's mixed it up. He got mad at Kavanaugh.
Because Dr. Ford asked for an opportunity here. I know you did too
Grassley
as well.
is frightening.
In fact, maybe even before she
That's
did.
the face of the Republican Party now. He mixed up the glass of water with a gavel.
People wanted to be heard from
He could be drinking from the gavel
that they
next.
all thought were unfair, or activities.
Well, I'm going to
like
pick up the
sexual
glass and
assault
smash it down and
was
think it's a
unfair.
gavel.
So I want to assure Senator Durbin, regardless of what you say to Senator Don McGahn, we're not suspending this hearing.
Go ahead. Hit the
Proceed
glass
to
now.
answer the question, or whatever. Or if
No, what he's talking about. Proceed to answer the
Gentlemen,
If the saying
just
don't
say
answer
this.
the question, I proceed to
If
answer the
you,
question.
Judge Kavanaugh,
This is the face of the
turns Don
Republican Party.
McGahn and to this committee and say, for the sake of my reputation,
Oh,
my
shut up,
dignity, and to
Durbin.
get to the bottom of the truth of this,
You
I am not going
dirtbag,
to
you
stand being an
filthy.
obstacle to an FBI
See, if they had
investigation.
guts, they'd
I
scream
would
up.
hope
He'd
that all
stand
the
up and say,
members
who
of
the hell are
committee
you to
would
talk
join
to
me
me
in
like
saying
that?
we're going to abide by
Is
your
it
witness
true that you
voices.
attacked our U.S. Marines, calling them Nazis in Haditha while they were fighting for their lives? Who the hell are you to talk to me like that?
I'm telling the truth.
I want to know what you want to do, Judge.
I'm innocent. I'm innocent of this charge.
Then you're prepared for an FBI investigation?
They don't reach conclusions. You reach the conclusion,
No,
Senator.
but they do investigate questions.
I'm
And
innocent.
you can't have it both ways, Judge. You can't say here at the beginning,
I wanted a
passion
hearing.
moment,
Look,
I
this
welcome
thing-
any kind of investigation.
This thing was
and then
sprung
walk
on
away from
me.
this.
This thing was sprung at the last minute after being held by staff. You know.
Judge,
You mean by
I
fine
called for a hearing
name?
immediately.
if there is no truth to her charges, the FBI investigation will show that. Or are you afraid that they might not?
Oh, my
Come
God.
on, Jay Witt.
The FBI does not reach. You know that's a phony question because the FBI doesn't reach conclusions.
So
they just provide the 302s with 302s, so I can explain
No, it's
to
sad.
people who don't know what that is.
Boy, this is
They
bad.
just go and
I
do
never
what you're
thought it would
doing,
get
ask
this
questions, and then type up a
This
report.
country will
They
never
don't reach
recover
the
from
bottom
this.
line.
This morning I asked Dr. Ford, I asked her about
This
this
country
incident
will
where
never
she ran into
recover
Mark
from the
Judge's
filth
Safeway.
coming out of the
And
mouths
she
of the
said, "Sure, I remember
Feinstein
it. 6
team
straight weeks
of
after this
disgusting
occurrence."
low-life
Well, someone at the Washington Post went
prosecutorial
and took
vermin.
a look at Mr. Judge's book and has been able to.
I don't know if
that
I
he
can
wrote
listen to
about
much
his
of this.
addiction and
I've been
his,
up since 5 in the morning watching this garbage.
And they have narrowed it down what they think was a period of time.
The Republican soft-shoed Dr. Ford, who played the pleat-skirted Catholic schoolgirl, went into role, channeled her 15-year-old self, and now they're going all out, attacking this guy, and there's no one defending
Why
him.
would you resist that kind of investigation?
Sir, I welcome. I wanted the hearing last week.
I'm asking about the FBI investigation.
The committee figures out how to ask the questions. I'll do whatever. I've been on the phone multiple times with committee counsel.
He just fell into his
Judge
trap.
Kavanaugh, will you support an FBI investigation?
See, he won't
right
stop.
now?
I will do whatever the committee
Shut up,
wants.
idiot!
Personally, do you think that's the
He
best
just
thing for
fell
us
into
to do?
Durbin's trap. He's weak. He's weak-minded. Weak-minded.
You won't answer?
You know, look, Senator, I've said I wanted a hearing.
didn't
and
grow up
I've
in the
said I
school
was
of hard
welcome to
knocks. He's a
anything.
private
I'm
school
innocent.
boy.
This thing was.
He would have
held.
said, if it was me, I would have said, hey, Durbin, first of all, you're as dirty as they come, number one. Number two, you've disgraced yourself by attacking the U.S. Marines. But let's put that aside. Didn't you learn in the 5th grade, Durbin, that the standard question to someone you're trying to destroy is this? Have you stopped beating your wife? You haven't heard that one, Durbin?
I think an FBI investigation.
See, he won't
will help
stop.
All of us on both
Someone's
sides
got to
of the
stop these people verbally. They don't know how to do it. They don't have the verbal skills.
For the floor.
They're too nice.
Before he does, it seems to me
Grassley again?
that
No.
if
Here
you
he
want
is
to know
again.
something, you got the witness right here to ask him. And secondly, if you want an FBI report, you can ask for it yourself. I've asked for FBI reports in the past, in the 38 years I've been in the Senate.
By
Senator
golly, when I was
Graham.
out in that cornfield husking that
Are you
corn,
aware that-
sometimes 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, I prayed to God many a time for the truth.
The day you were
Many a
nominated
time I prayed in that cornfield.
by President Trump, Senator Schumer said, 23 minutes after your nomination, I will oppose Judge Kavanaugh's nomination with everything I have. I have a bipartisan, and I hope a bipartisan majority will do the same. The stakes are simply too high for anything less. Well, if you weren't aware of it, you are now. Did you meet with Senator Dianne Feinstein on August 20th?
I love Lindsey
I did
Graham
meet
now.
with Senator Feinstein.
Did you
Pool-
know
the
that
pool
her
hall guy.
staff had already recommended a lawyer to Dr. Ford?
Good for you.
I did not know that.
Did you know that her and her staff had this
Good.
allegations for
Now
over
we
20
see
days?
guts.
I did not know that at the time.
If you
Pool
wanted
hall.
an FBI investigation,
He's as tough
you
as
could have
nails
come to
underneath
us.
that.
What you want to do is destroy this guy's life.
Go ahead.
Hold this seat
Go
open
for it, Lindsey.
and hope you win in 2020. You said that, not me. You've got nothing to apologize for.
Lindsey ought
When
to
you
run
see
for president.
Sotomayor and Kagan, tell
Love
them
him.
that Lindsey said hello, because I voted for them. I would never do to them what you've done to this guy.
Good for
This
you.
is the most unethical
Good.
sham since I've been in politics.
Good for you,
And
Lindsay.
If you really wanted to know the truth, you sure as hell wouldn't have done what you've done to this guy.
Amen,
Are
Lindsay.
you a gang rapist?
No.
Man, this is
I
awesome.
cannot imagine what you and your family have gone
God
through.
bless you, Lindsey
Boy,
Graham.
y'all want power. God, I hope you never get it. I hope the American people can see through this sham.
Good
That
for
you
you.
knew about it and you held it. You had no intention of protecting Dr.
Wow,
Ford.
he's the first
None.
one showing
She's as
maleness.
much of a victim as you are. God, I hate to say it because these have been my friends. But let me tell you, when it comes to this, you're looking for a fair process. You came to the wrong town at the wrong time, my friend.
Oh.
Do you consider this
Oh.
a job interview?
The advice and consent role is like a job.
You consider that
All right,
you've
we
been
got to
through
take
a
a
job
break, but you're
interview.
listening to the best part of the hearing, which is finally Republicans showed the sign of manhood and stood up to the vermin on the left, notably the worst of them all, Durbin. If you are an ex-military member or a current serving member of the military, I want you to check the veracity of what I'm saying to you. He accused our Marines in Haditha, Iraq, of being Nazis and fascists. I was the only one in the media who raised money for those accused to get them out of prison. I did it. That's how outraged I was. And here he is again destroying another man. This is one of the most vicious people in the history of America. He belongs in the gulag, not in Washington. I'll be right back.
Savage.
Second. We'll go back to the Kavanaugh hearings, which are getting more ludicrous by the second and more disgusting by the second. But I want to tell you about your health for a minute. I know it's an odd time to tell you about it, but if you want to talk about health, I'm going to talk about mixing nitrogen and oxygen and creating nitric oxide, which is a very important molecule, by the way, made by your own body. And it keeps you vibrant. You get older, body needs help making this molecule, nitric oxide. Luckily, Super Beets by Human has put together nutrient-rich beets and created a superfood which helps your body make more nitric oxide on its own. Very important. You take 1 teaspoon of Super Beets every day and you support your cardiovascular health and your blood pressure levels, and it'll give you natural energy with no caffeine kick or sugar high. Joe from Austin says Super Beets has helped me stick to my goals of watching what I eat and getting more exercise. I take Super Beets before I work out, and it's a big help with stamina. So call 1-800-481-0504, 800-481-0504, or go to savagelovesbeets.com. You'll find out how you can get a free 30-day supply. Call 800-481-0504 or go to savagelovesbeets.com today. Let's go right back to the hearings right now. Turn it back on. I want to hear where
And I'm afraid we've lost.
Talking about whitefish or gefilte fish. Where
At
are they
least
now?
for the time being. Do you understand you've been accused of multiple crimes?
We have the hearings or don't we? Turn it back on. I can't hear it.
Painfully aware for my family
Okay,
and
I got a
me
problem
to
here
read
with the
about
feet.
this.
And what
the hell is going
breathless reporting?
Of course, the sexual assault.
Okay,
that
let's
Dr.
stop
Ford
right here.
claims
These
that
Democrats are sick degenerates. They're sick sexual degenerates.
Michael Savage, a host like no other.
Away for vacation. So it's always a new year, a new beginning for me. So in the new beginning of talk radio for you, maybe every once in a while I'm going to do a little word stuff. Can you figure out which of the following words that I'm about to read? Well, you tell me in your own mind the minute I read it to you. I'm not going to quiz you. You will. I'm going to read you 14 words. Tell me if you know which word is the opposite in meaning to the word I'm about to read. I'm giving you a little English lesson. So the first word is, and I'm going to read you the word. See if you can tell me the opposite to that word. Gluttonish. What's the opposite of a gluttonous person? Abstemious. What's the opposite of real in actual existence? Number 3, an object of hatred. What's the object of hatred? The opposite of an object of hatred. What is the opposite of someone who is politically direct and honest? That would be Machiavellian. That would be the opposite. What is the opposite over the words control over the mob so that it is without power? What is the opposite of completely ignorant? knowing nothing. The opposite would be omniscient. What is the opposite of an idol? Someone loved by all. What is the opposite of an idol? It's like, he's an idol or she's an idol. The opposite would be pariah, right? What is the opposite of someone who is indecisive or wavering? Peremptory. What is the opposite of leaving the emotions unaffected? Poignant. What is the opposite of someone who is satisfied or uncomplaining? That would be a querulous person. What is the opposite of someone who you say is authentic and true in every way? That would be a specious person. What about something that is found nowhere, completely absent? You can't find it anywhere. The opposite would be ubiquitous. So if I said that silica is ubiquitous in the sidewalks of New York, that would be an example of ubiquitous. What if I say that that person is crude and boorish? The opposite is unctuous. And finally, what's the opposite of someone who is modest? Vainglorious, right? Then I'm trying to show you words. It's complicated. The English language is a great language, but you have to study it. I can't imagine how hard it is for a foreigner to learn this language. It's very difficult. Most of us don't even speak English, especially with the advent of the social media. It's gone below that of a 6th or 5th grader in my day as a student, maybe below that of a 4th grader. How many words of English do you think the average person on Instagram or Facebook actually needs, or Twitter? What age level? What grade level? What IQ level? What IQ level do you think is functionally necessary to be on Twitter? An 80? Someone out of a mental asylum could go on Twitter and tweet, "Feel good today." That's all. That's all you need. You're a genius. Just show your bikini. All right. Anyway, that was my little lesson now. What's up? What else do I have? Oh, there's a funny thing about radio you don't understand that I learned over the years, which is that it doesn't mean like how many callers you get don't reflect on whether the people are enjoying the show. A lot of you become captivated by me like I'm a snake charmer. When you hear that I'm ebullient, and you feel my voice is bubbly and I'm excited like I am today, you'll basically sit back and listen. You won't call, right? But if I want to pump you to call, all I have to do is say certain key words like MAGA or liberals bad or wall, build that wall, or lock her up. I could get you to call if I wanted, with questions based upon the key words that trigger you. But I'm not Bill Maher. I mean, or the schmuck on Morning Joe. What an idiot he is. These people are so low, they do anything for ratings. Don't they realize how stupid they sound? Did they really care? When I wrote Stop Mass Hysteria, and I said America's insanity from the Salem witch trials to the Trump witch hunt, which will be out in 2 weeks from today, or 2 weeks from Tuesday or so, I do mention some of these Joe Palookas in the media. They're whipping up the mass hysteria in this country, and there ought to be a law against it. I think there should be a law. The problem is who's going to determine who in the media is whipping up the mass hysteria. It'll be determined by who's in office, right? Yeah, well, that's the problem. That's why we have no censorship. That's why the genius founding fathers gave us the First Amendment, to make sure that there was no censorship. So the problem is when you give people like Zuckerberg more power than they're entitled to, and they become a public utility, but they're not regulated as such, they then become censors, worse than a government would be able to become. There's no FCC controlling them. It should be. See, if you're not going to make them a government entity, a public utility, there'd be something equivalent of the Federal Communications Commission, Social Communications Commission, SCC. Okay, I want to be the head of the SCC. And I want to tell Zuckerberg and the others what they can and cannot do to censor conservatives. I think there should be a Socials Communications Commission. I'm not going to ask you should there be. There should be. I read that there's a misery index, and people are more miserable than ever today, which I found to be interesting in a strange way. People are more miserable today than ever in history. Well, I can't say in history. I would say that during the Holocaust or the plague, people might have been more miserable. But someone did a thing on misery. They do a misery index. It's an interesting topic, right? Turns out that the United States, we are more miserable than anyone on earth except Greeks. Now, I understand why Greeks are miserable. Greeks are most miserable people on the planet. And that's because ever since Plato came along and introduced logic, they've been miserable because they had to live with logic and reason. Look what it's done to them. They're now the most miserable people on the planet. I mean, if you want to be happy, have no reason and no logic and just vote for a Democrat. And listen to, who do you fear more, Florence or Maxine Waters? I think Maxine Waters is more dangerous than Hurricane Florence to the safety of the United States of America, that is. You know what just happened, right? Guy pulled out a switchblade, tried to stab a Republican in California. That got buried by the local newspaper. Another one burned a Republican campaign headquarters. That got buried by the vermin in the media. And it's all being triggered by people like Maxine Waters, in my opinion. That's why I don't want to talk about him. Because if I was in Congress, I would not stop filibustering until Maxine Waters was censored for provoking violence amongst the morons who believe in her. I'll be right back.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. Have you ever taken your car in for an oil change? Your mechanic finds something wrong, and bingo, surprise, you're hit with a huge repair bill? And what happens when you're not covered by the manufacturer's warranty? You're paying out of your own pocket to fix it, that's what. That's why I recommend extended vehicle protection from CarShield. If your car has 5,000 to 150,000 miles, CarShield can save you from paying for high repair bills. Replacing your engine or even a simple sensor can cost thousands. But when you're protected by CarShield, you can have your favorite mechanic or dealership fix your car. It's your choice. CarShield also provides 24/7 roadside assistance and a rental car while yours is being fixed for free. Get covered by the ultimate in extended vehicle protection. Get CarShield. How? Call 800-CAR-6100. 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 Mention code SAVAGE or visit carshield.com. Use code SAVAGE to save a big 10%. That's carshield.com or 800-CAR-6100. Code SAVAGE. Summer is gone, but not the sunspots, inflamed patches, and UV damage to your face, neck, and shoulders. I'd like to introduce Genucel's brand new sunspot corrector during Chamonix's summer repair sale for a limited time. Roseanne from Akron says, "Oh, in just days I saw a lightening of dark spots on my cheeks. I'm ordering more now." I gave my friend some of this to try, and boy, did they like it. It was a real test, and this guy really liked it. Yes, he's a guy. And just like Roseanne, if you click or call right now, you'll get the Genucel Sunspot Corrector absolutely free just for trying Genucel for bags and puffiness today. Finally, see those stubborn sunspots vanish, even the ones you had for years, and those bags and puffiness gone. And for results in less than 12 hours, the Genucel Immediate Effects is also free. Please go to Genucel.com now or call 800-SKIN-891, 800-SKIN-891, and listen, for a limited time, Chamonix microdermabrasion is also yours free for the first time this year. You heard me now. Order now. Shipping is also free. So say goodbye to wrinkles, dark spots, and sunspots today. Please go to Genucel.com now. I'm Michael Savage, and you're listening to Talk 1300 at 98.7. We started with Mark Wahlberg's zealous physical regimen, getting up to 30, all that. And then I told you I was a zealot when I was in my 30s. I'd run up mountains. I wrote for Runner's Magazine. I wouldn't touch a piece of meat. And things changed as I went into radio. I needed the energy to do a daily show. It's much different than almost any other form of entertainment or activity because your mind has to be sharp for hours a day. You can't miss a word. I mean, if you're an actor, you can take breaks. You're reading a script. You don't really have to think that much, except how to look or how to do the part, I guess. But that's not as heavy a thought as trying to analyze topics and then handle callers. So I needed to fuel my brain. And my brain needs a lot of protein, especially animal protein. So I was talking about that. Then I'm talking about the misery index. A new article came out, says a lot of people are miserable these days. And it was a big study by Gallup, 154,000 people in more than 145 countries released today the so-called Negative Experience Index. It's an average of people's reports of their daily levels of worry, stress, physical pain, sadness, and anger. Highest level since Gallup began measuring the data 10 years ago. And the U.S. is really high up there, higher than the average around the world, because we work harder than anywhere else, except for Greece, which is higher. The Greeks also, they were stressed a lot more. Very, very high. And I jokingly said, because the Greeks have been nervous and stressed since Aristotle, who gave them a logic. And since they've been logical, they've been miserable. If you're not logical and you're stupid,